Welcome to the Up in Your Family Business podcast, where we dive into the heart of family business with intimate interviews, expert insights, inspirational stories, valuable resources, and practical tips to help grow your family business. Hello, everybody. Today is an exciting episode of Up in Your Family Business podcast. We have with us Andrew Caplinger, second generation of Caplinger's Fresh Catch, a seafood market and restaurant with locations throughout central Indiana and Indianapolis. Andrew is a fantastic, in my experience, Andrew is a fantastic storyteller. He has lots of experience talking about the history of Caplinger's, where it started, things that have happened over its past 11 years, and it's just really fun to hear you speak about your brand, your company. So, but thanks for being here today. It's good to see you. Good to see you. What we will be talking about today is, and you're going to love this. Watch what I do here, Andrew. You are a fish market, so reeling in success. Nice. The Caplinger legacy in the Heartland seafood market. I thought you'd like that.
Yeah, no pun intended, I'm sure.
Well, we got a couple more coming. Brace yourself. Here we go. All right, a little description about today's Reeling in Success podcast topic. In this episode, we explore the story of the Caplinger family's enduring legacy in the heart of the Heartland's seafood scene. From humble beginnings to becoming a cornerstone of their community, at least in my opinion. You might be too humble to say that, but because I did mention your humble beginnings, but cornerstone of the community, and I think your clients would agree, and your customers. We discuss the secrets behind their recipe for success, the challenges they've overcome, and the products and flavors that keep their customers hooked. So there you go. It's perfect. It's perfect for you. Yeah. All right. I just want to share with everybody a little context. So I indicated that you're second generation, but a little bit of a note here. So technically, you are owned and operated by two generations of family. But you're unique in that the two generations, not when I say unique, it's not like this doesn't happen at all, but usually there's succession or inheritance or something like that. In your case, the first generation, your father, and the second generation, you, along with your wife, started Caplinger's together at the same time. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and that was in 2013?
Yep. Okay. December 26, 2013. We barely made it in for 2013, but we did.
You got it in. Was that good does that work for business taxes as well, to get it in before the end of the year?
I would imagine it probably did.
That's good. So I just wanted to clarify, two generations started the business at the same time. And with that, I'm going to jump right into the first question. And I think it's appropriate. I mentioned you're a good storyteller, and I know you enjoy this. I know you enjoy sharing this story. Can you share the origin story of Caplinger's Fresh Catch Seafood Market and how the idea came to be?
Absolutely. It all starts before I was ever even born. My dad, back in the mid-'70s, he was working in a grocery store, Standard Grocery, and he ended up getting an opportunity to work in their brand new seafood department. He didn't know anything about anything other than maybe some Mrs. Gordon's fish sticks or something like that.
How old was he at that time?
He would have been probably 19 years old.
This is way back. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
He's 67. Yeah, 67 now. So
if that picture on the website's up to date, he looks pretty good.
He's not doing bad.
That's good.
But he started doing that, and it was something that he enjoyed doing, and sort of progressed, and ended up in the 80s. He was with O'Malley's Food Markets. He started up all of O'Malley's seafood departments. Then went on to Mr. D's, who was more. Mr. D was more on the south side. A lot of people remember them from the 80s and 90s, and they had the wonderful Mr. D's jingle.
Really?
Please, or determined to please. I'm sorry.
That's funny.
But they were two great companies that he was able to work with and learn a lot from.
That's cool.
Ended up getting in the wholesale end of the business, and in 1993 opened up 56th Street Fish Market,
Okay.
which was off 56 and Emerson in Indianapolis.
Now, was that his business, or he helped them start that?
He was a minority partner.
Okay.
With the majority owner was the owner of Midwest Seafood, which at that point was the largest processor of fresh fish and seafood in the Midwest.
Okay.
So my dad was able to get back into that retail end of things, which he always loved. He loved being in front of people. I was 13, 14 years old at the time, and that's when I got into it.
Now we know how old you are.
Yeah, yep, I'm getting up there now.
You're getting up there now.
Yeah,
you still look better than I do, so you're doing all right.
I don't know about that, but thank you. So I got started, when I was 13, 14 years old, and ended up growing up in that business. And 2005 came around, and my dad was looking to buy out the majority partner. We'd found out some things that you wouldn't want going on in a business.
Interesting.
And so the deeper that he got into that, the more they found, and ended up turning into a pretty rough go. My dad ended up pretty much getting fired as the owner-operator of the business. And he was still the owner, but when you've got ownership of a business where the majority partner is pulling lots and lots of money out that they shouldn't be,
they can just boot. They can boot the whistleblower.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. And that's exactly what happened. And
Interesting.
So I went on from there and went to work for McFarling Foods, which was a local food distributor, broadliner. And
You did?
I did, yes.
Okay. And where did your dad go from there?
Well, the joy of that, or lack of joy, was that even though the owner, the majority guy, had done all of these crooked, wrong things, my dad still had a non-compete agreement.
Oh, okay.
So he ended up having to, he went and they did some consulting work for a lady that started up a fish market in the Chicagoland area.
Really?
And I
That's
helped out a
interesting.
little bit with that, but
Okay.
he had to find other things. And then for a year, and after that year was up, he was able to go back out and he started up his own little wholesale end of things, which he did good with, but it was really hard when you don't have a big facility and stuff to break in to the market where you've got all these big guys that are already out there doing what they're doing.
Okay.
So
Okay.
he was doing that, and then ended up getting into actually selling furniture also.
Oh my goodness.
And
that makes sense, right? Fish,
yeah.
furniture. It's a good mix.
Why not?
It's got,
So-
I mean, you gotta sit on a table to eat that fish, right? So
Absolutely. Yep. But at that point, I'd been working at McFarling for 2.5, 3 years, and just wasn't my thing. I was doing some buying. I loved it when I'd get to go out with the salespeople and
Really?
all of that. But I missed being around people.
Okay.
So I ended up, my wife and we talked things over and decided, let's see what the water's like, elsewhere.
So
We were still young.
you introduced the idea of Caplinger's Fresh Catch?
Not yet.
Okay.
I've always wanted to do it.
I do remember you sharing that with me. You've had this dream well before Caplinger's became what it is. You had already been for years. You had kind of dreamed about it or thought about it or whatever.
Yeah, actually, it was probably 1996. I was, I think a junior in high school. And I was in a program called DECA, which was a marketing program, and they have different not contests, but they have things where you can go in and go up against other kids at other schools.
My idea versus your idea type thing.
Exactly. And I chose to do one. It was called the Entrepreneurship Participating Event, and that was actually making a business plan. You make a full business plan and present it to members of the SBA.
So you were still in high school, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And so, of course, mine was for a fish market and restaurant.
There you go. There you go.
Ended up winning state with it.
Did you really?
Yep. So
is it still way too many years later to congratulate you on that?
I'll take it.
Okay.
I'll take it.
We could always use a boost every day, right?
No doubt about it.
Hey, Andrew, congratulations on that. That's really
Thank
good
you.
job.
I worked real hard on that, so I appreciate that.
That's really cool. So that's 96. So we're still talking 17 years before you actually started Caplingers.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So fast forward back to McFarling, I ended up deciding I need to do something different, and just put my resume out there. Back in the days, it was Career Builder, and who knows what else.
Who knows
I know
what else?
things have changed now, but
Yeah.
I got a call from a company called Harris Teeter.
Harris Teeter. Okay.
They're a grocery chain out on the East Coast.
Oh.
They've since been bought out by Kroger.
Okay.
But
Gotcha.
My wife and I were looking at this, and we were like, this is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And so we ended up, I accepted a position as a seafood department manager with them.
Did you actually move? Do they have locations here, or you had to go to the East Coast?
They were pretty much all on the East Coast. The closest one was in Tennessee.
Did you move there?
We did.
Wow.
Yep. They moved us. So it was
Wow.
to this day the best move that I've ever had. But
Did that set you up really nicely for what came next?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
We ended up in the Washington, D.C. area,
Yeah.
just south of D.C., and I was able to go work with just some amazing people at these stores. The store that I ended up at was in Arlington, Virginia, and we were the third highest sales volume, but our actual profitability was higher than even the other two that had higher sales volume. So that spoke a lot of the management and stuff that I was able to work with. They knew how to, keep waste to a minimum and just really make things work the way that they were supposed to. So it was pretty awesome. My whole life I've been able to work with a lot of great people and learn things. My dad and my uncle, when I was at the fish market, and then again, like I said, all the management team that I was able to work with at Harris Teeter. I ended up getting a promotion to assistant store manager, and we moved down to Asheville, North Carolina.
Okay.
Technically, the store was in Asheville, and the main reason that we were wanting to move is that all the traffic and stuff that we had up in the DC area. I mean, it was awful. And so I moved down to.
You don't mean foot traffic in the store. You mean street traffic.
No. Oh my gosh!
I was gonna say, because the other one would be really good. You're talking about street
No
traffic.
doubt.
Yeah. What do they call that? The 95 corridor. I heard it's brutal.
It's brutal, is putting it nicely.
Okay.
I'd have sometimes 2.5 hour commutes to work.
To 5 miles or something.
Exactly.
It's like LA.
It was 27 miles actually.
Oh, okay.
But
Well, then okay.
It was a straight shot though, but it still took forever.
That's crazy.
It was
Morning
crazy.
and at night, probably.
Yep.
Both ways.
Yeah, it didn't matter. So
And of course, you had to drive uphill both ways, right? The highways went uphill both ways.
uphill both ways.
There you go.
10
Man,
inches
horrible.
of snow.
Horrible. Brutal.
Yeah, but it was one of those deals. We just got tired of all the traffic, so I took this promotion. Ended up going down to Asheville. We lived in a little teeny tiny town called Marshall, North Carolina. It was again probably 20 some odd miles of north of Asheville.
Okay.
Get down there, and I start work at the Asheville store, and they come in literally 2 weeks later and say, "Hey, we're closing the Asheville store."
No way.
We didn't buy our house in
What
Marshall.
year is this? What year?
Probably 2008,
Okay.
2009.
All right, we're inching closer. We're getting there. We're getting there.
And long story short, I end up down in Hendersonville, North Carolina.
It's too late for that.
Yeah,
It's too late for long story short.
Long.
I told everybody he's a great storyteller. So once we get to 2013, we'll pause there. We'll go back to when you were born, and you can tell us everything from birth to 16.
Fair enough. I might get a little bit missed out of the
How you were an oddball when your parents offered you candy, you wanted fish instead.
Yeah.
So go ahead. But anyway, so 2008,
Yeah.
store closes
Store closes.
in Marshall, North Carolina.
I end up down in Hendersonville.
Okay.
which turned out to be just an amazing thing. I was able to work with just a great group of people. I mean, it was like family down there, and did that for a few years. And I was with my wife on December 31st, which is her birthday of 2012. And she says, "Hey, I think it's time to do what you've always wanted and move back home."
She said that to you?
She said that to me on her birthday. So,
interesting.
Needless to say, I was ecstatic. You know,
Yeah.
we had all the family is back here in Indiana, and
So your dad was still here, your mom, your uncle, everybody.
Yeah, and we've got nieces and nephews all growing up, and we're missing out on all that stuff.
Plus,
So
plus that's where your heart is, right?
Yeah,
your heart's in the heartland, right? And that's where you want to be. Very
no doubt
cool.
about it. It's home. So
Yeah, that's very cool.
I put together a business plan, and I'm still, working at Harris Teeter. Courtney ended up halfway through. We found out, well, one of us has to have residency in Indiana.
Okay.
In order to be able to get a SBA loan approved.
Gotcha. So
she moves back, and she was living with her sister and my brother-in-law and a couple nieces at the time and nephew. And then we find out, well, no, you both have to be here.
Okay.
So I ended up turning in my notice at Harris Teeter, and that was a hard thing to do because I just love the people that I worked with there. Again, my boss, he taught me so much. It was probably the best management training that I've ever been able to get in my life.
That's really great.
And so I ended up moving home, worked at Fresh Market for a handful of months until we were able to get everything lined up. We got our loan. We had some friends that loaned us some money that have been great mentors through the whole process. We finally got the okay from the bank, and we opened up December 26, 2013. In the middle, before that, we had a space that we were probably about 1 week away from starting construction and build out on, and the people pretty much pulled the rug out from under us, which turned out to be an absolute blessing because of being able to open up over off 75th and Shadeland right by Community Hospital is an absolute godsend. It was a perfect spot for us to be.
Which one was your first one? Your first location? That was
75th and Shadeland.
That is your first one?
Yes.
Okay. What was that before? What was in there before?
It used to be a fast burrito.
Fast burrito.
Yeah. It was it's funny. We walked in, my wife and I and my dad, we went in there when they were still operating and sat down, and we got some burritos, needless to say. And we're looking around, and I'm looking up at the ceiling tiles. The ceiling tiles are just neon green. And you're looking around, you're thinking, how can we make this work? And I'm looking, and they had all their setups and everything, and it turned out we were able to go in there. We didn't have to cut the floors for a single drain. We didn't have to do any major infrastructure. Yeah.
It was ready to go.
We cut some walls down a little bit lower and put cases in, and bam, we were rolling. So
the next time you put out when you want to get a survey out to your customers for feedback, I'm going to put in there, bring back the neon green. Put that back on the ceiling. That would be awesome.
If you got up there and scratched on some of the stuff, I'm sure you'd be able to, the ceiling tiles on the grid, I'm sure you'd be able to bring some of that neon green back.
Okay. To bring this full circle, this origin story, how it all, what led up to it, where does your dad come into play? So December 31st, December 31st of 12, your wife approaches you, and you shared some of the developments. When did you approach your dad, and when did your dad become a part of this?
I would imagine it was probably December 31st.
Oh, you probably called him right away?
Probably
like a teenage kid. Guess what, Dad? Guess what?
Exactly. Yeah. It's Christmas morning. I was getting my gift of being able to move home and do my dream. So
I get it. That's awesome.
Yep.
So he might have been the first one you called.
I can't fathom that he
Just
wasn't.
say he was. Yeah, just say he
Yeah,
was. Yeah,
he was.
He was the first one. That's really awesome. So you're going back home, had good experiences elsewhere. I think down deep, we have experiences elsewhere. We can live in different places and have good experiences. But there is something about getting back to your roots and getting back to where you grew up. There's a hold it has on us. I don't know if that's mentally, emotionally, psychologically, I don't know what it is, but you probably never thought about doing it anywhere else.
Oh, no. And we had a history. We were at 56th Street Fish Market. We were the place to go.
Okay.
We won all the awards. We were always in Indianapolis Monthly for all the best ofs, and we were the place to go. And with my dad and the history that people had with him, that was a no-brainer. There's nowhere else you're going to go other than back home to do that. So
I'm going to get to that. It's funny you mentioned the awards. My next question to you is about the national recognition you've gotten in your awards. But before we do that, I love this story. And again, thank you for not making a liar out of me. You're a great storyteller. I love it. Absolutely love it. And I think that's really cool for other business owners to hear. I think the origin story is important. I think hearing that journey, this was not something just happened. I mean,
Oh, no.
It was planted, and it just feels like over time, all the right buttons were being pushed. All the right things were happening. You mentioned about this looking on paper as being a bad thing, but it was a blessing. You walk into this restaurant just to get a burrito, randomly go in, hey, let's eat here. But there are a lot of things that fell into place.
Yeah.
And I love that. The thing I want to touch on with you and your dad is you guys both had an experience, a passion, a drive. It probably wasn't hard for you to convince your dad. I'm not sure convince even played a part in it, right?
Oh, no.
But when you first started out, what were your strengths and what were his strengths? How did you start out? What was he doing and what were you doing to get it off the ground?
That's a good question. It's something that still, we both have different strengths and weaknesses, I think, to this day. My dad has had a lot of health issues and stuff the last
recent
few years.
Okay.
And so he's not been able to be as much
active.
of a part of things. But he's always been a lot better discerner of people, I think. And, everybody, whenever you're in business, you run across mostly good people, but you'll have some that aren't. And I've gotten sucked into some different things, with vendors and stuff like that, where we've just had to. It's been harder than what it should have, where he probably would have chosen a different route that would have worked better. So
I share this often on this podcast because it just seems to make sense to share at various points in each podcast. It's like, so we've been in business 16 years. And I was just thinking about this last night. Unfortunately, I think about work a lot when I'm lying in bed, and sometimes it keeps me up, which is I'm getting better at that, but it's really weird. I've been in business 16 years, my partner and I, and it's like, how did we not, like, whatever we just figured out last week, like, why didn't we figure that out 2 years ago, 10 years ago? Like, come on. Like, what
happens all the time with
man, that's crazy. Yeah, that's frustrating. Was it so were you and your dad 50-50 partners?
Well, the way that it worked out, my wife and I had to basically liquidate all of our 401k, anything along those lines, and we did what was called an ERSOP. And
oh yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah,
pretty much put all of our funds into stock.
Yeah.
For our own business.
I see.
Not an ideal way to go.
Okay.
Because it's really bad for taxes and all of that, but it was what we had to do. And
it was required by the SBA to do that?
Correct.
Okay.
So doing that, we had to be the majority owners. We had to be the full owners at first, but we were able to, on down the line with our accountants, we were able to figure out a way where we were pretty much all, my dad is a 33% owner. Between Courtney and I, we've got the other.
Okay.
The rest of the percentage on the business.
Was that a big adjustment? It could be a big adjustment, no matter how much you respect and love your dad, which obviously would have gotten you motivated to include him bringing that additional expertise and experience.
No doubt.
Was it an adjustment at all working with your dad? Were there any challenges you had initially with that, or was it pretty? You guys were just on it right from the beginning.
Well, as a family business, I mean, there are always hurdles that you have to come across where you're not seeing exactly eye to eye. I've come up with this. I think I came up with it. Hopefully there's no copyright on it that I'm infringing on. But I always tell people, my dad and I, we're always, we might not be on the same page, but we're at least in the same book.
Yep.
And, Courtney would maybe come along and help us to get on the same page sometimes.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Okay.
So I've always counted it a blessing that we haven't killed each other. We've never even come close.
That's good.
We are able to come to a consensus.
There's always time, Andrew. There's always time.
Yeah, we're not done. But, it's one of those things that I look back and I can see a lot of things where I was in total disagreement where he was right, and I think he can look back and see where he was in total disagreement and I was right. We've come out pretty even on those things, and obviously things have worked out pretty good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I was just curious because that is, when it comes to family business, that dynamic of, parent-child could be easy, it could be difficult. Yeah. So good. Well, you were still in business 11 years later.
Yep.
So something went right. I do want to, I do want to circle back because as I was doing, I mean, I know that we here at Element 212 we worked with you over the years.
Yes.
But I was not aware until I started doing some research, preparing for this podcast episode. I was not aware that you had. I know you've gotten awards here locally, but you also have national recognition, which is really fascinating. I know you're a humble guy, but I would love to hear, put into context, awards and recognitions that you've got, because I think it's really cool. You guys are here in Central Indiana. You're not on the East Coast, So, how did that come to be? How did you get that recognition and acknowledgement nationally and beyond? Just beyond this part of the state.
Yeah. It came obviously through all of our loyal customers, different review sites. Yelp was a really big driver in some of that national spotlight.
I see. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, they put out, I think it was 2017. They put out the top 20 or top 25 lobster rolls in the country. And we came in at number 19.
It's pretty cool.
Boy, we got a lot of hate for that by all the East Coasters and all of that stuff. And,
they can't own everything.
Right. But it's funny. You still have those people. You can't get fresh fish in the Midwest. And it's like they've got things called airplanes and stuff like that. We can actually do it pretty good. Yeah.
I think there's something called, they invented ice a couple of years ago. That probably helped a lot.
It did.
Yeah.
It helped a whole lot.
That's pretty cool. What is the award or recognition that you're most proud of that you received over the years?
I don't know that it wasn't it's not been an award or a plaque or anything like that we've got. But the thing that I'm most proud of with our business, we saw it so much at Shadeland, but it's going in and seeing that we draw people from all walks of life. Mm-hmm. And especially pre-COVID, we had like 6 top tables and stuff like that, and people wouldn't be able to. We don't have a lot of seating, so there would be a chair here, a chair there at a different table, and we'd have people from totally polar opposite spectrums of the
age and
everything.
All the demographics.
Yeah, and they'd be coming together, sitting at one table, and talking, and just being able to create. I don't even know how that happens, but we've been able to create something there where there's a comfort level for people to come in and just be able to be themselves and to talk to people that they don't know and make friends, and it just it's sort of like the Cheers of a fish market. I don't know. It's just that's the thing that I've always been most proud of is the ability to create that atmosphere. And
I'm going to share a personal story that validates that. One of the times I was in Caplinger's I was at the 75th and Shadeland location, and I was sitting there having a conversation with the person that I was there with at the time, my girlfriend, and we were just talking about basketball, and I forget, for whatever reason, we were talking about who some of the best basketball players are of all time, and what I was noting is some of the ones that are not, in my opinion, are some of the best that might not be recognized as some of the best, right? Because maybe they were in a different era, or maybe they just didn't have the right PR going. But it's very relative as to who's the best. I mean, you can argue certain players, but my point is that I was sitting there having a conversation with the person across from me about basketball, and this has never happened to me in any other restaurant ever in my life. Not saying it doesn't happen, but for me personally, there was another couple, a couple of tables down, the guy said, and he goes, "I'm so sorry, don't mean to interrupt. I couldn't help it, but I really I'm taken with what you're talking about." And he goes, what do you guys think about Oscar Robertson? Right, of course.
Oscar Robertson.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. This gentleman and I, for the next 4 or 5 minutes, just started talking about basketball and why Oscar Robertson was so great and why these other players, just right there in Caplinger's, right there at the table.
Yeah.
And we're just sitting there talking about who our favorite basketball players are, who we think are the best. And it's never happened before. It's never happened ever since. So
wow.
I think that's a good example.
Exactly. I mean, I'll go in there and for meetings every once in a while, and there was a conversation that I had. And customers don't necessarily know who I am. Some of them do. Some
I was wondering. A lot of them, yeah.
And
depends on what channel they watch on TV.
Sometimes, yeah. But I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and it was like a hard conversation. It was some tough stuff.
Were you behind the counter, or were you?
No, I'm sitting out at a table.
Oh, well, okay, gotcha.
And I had a guy that he was real close, sitting real close to where we were, and he just he overheard things. And again, this is like some personal stuff. It's obviously not personal enough that I'm not gonna talk about it out there with folks. But he got he shared his story with me, and it was unbelievable, to have someone else share personal stuff like what they were. Just because they heard my story, they don't know who I am. I don't know who they are, and it's just I don't know. There's something special about it.
Do you think that's something that you created? Do you think it came naturally as a byproduct of the culture you've created? How do you think that? Why do you think that happened? And maybe you don't know, but obviously you're proud of it. Why do you think at Caplinger's? Why do you think people are having those types of conversations, just chiming in like that?
I don't know. That's not a good answer, but
that's all right. It's the answer. It's all right.
You see a lot of times, in the Bible, they talk about breaking bread and doing things, and how you're able to create relationships and stuff like that. And even though we're not sitting at the same table breaking bread,
right?
Maybe there must just be something to that where people they share more.
It could be the brand. I mean, I think with Caplinger's. I think with Caplinger's, people love the brand. They're very loyal. They're passionate about. They're passionate. I think brands that have a loyal following, people that love it, right? I think in those environments, that's where people feel comfortable. Like, okay, and I know that sounds silly, but if you may have never thought about this, but it might be very possible. Like, I love Caplinger's. You're here, so you must love Caplinger's. I know you don't have a Caplinger's club or anything like that, but when I was there, when the guy started talking to me, it didn't bother me. It just felt natural. It was the most interesting thing. It was just like there wasn't even any question or doubt as to whether that was appropriate. It was almost like expected by him. It was really kind of cool. So anyway, I thought that was kind of neat. Okay, I know you're enough about your awards. Stop bragging about yourself. We're done with that. So, okay. So Caplinger's is, again, you mentioned about, it's on your website, how you guys debunk the misconception that you can't get quality fresh fish.
Yeah.
And we talked about planes and ice and things like that. But with that, number one, how do you do that? And number two, what does separate you guys from other fish markets? Like, what makes you guys special and unique beyond the conversations that happen in your restaurant?
Sure. Without doubt, you have to have an expectation of quality. You have to have specs that are set that are above everybody else's. And one of the big things with seafood, I've always told people, you can buy seafood two different ways. You can buy it based on price, or you can buy it based on quality. Every once in a while, when you're buying on price, you might get a good product. But when you're buying on quality, you're always going to get a good product. It might not be the best price, but that's the way that we've always looked at things. There are a lot of different seafoods that are commodity type. They're commodity driven. A lot of different shrimp and tilapia and catfish. A lot of different things are commodity driven. But there are a lot of boutique type salmon. And let's say salmon. You can go to the grocery store and you can buy salmon for probably $8.99, $9.99 a pound, and that's going to be a Chilean or Canadian farm-raised salmon.
Okay.
And you're going to walk into our place and you're going to see something like an Ora King salmon out of New Zealand that's priced right around $30 a pound.
Wow.
And there's a reason for that. The quality of the way that the fish is cared for, the feed that it gets. There's so many different differentiators when it comes to quality seafood. And the bad thing about quality seafood is that it's expensive. But the good thing is that you're getting a good, healthful product that's going to taste better than the stuff that's just raised.
And probably be better for you.
No doubt, yes. But it's one of those deals where I always told people you get what you pay for. It's just like if you go to the butcher and you're buying, some ungraded, a cow that has been living, out and was a dairy cow that they ended up having to take to butcher or something. Or if you're buying a Wagyu or something along those lines, there are huge differences in quality. And we deal on that higher end. Even when it comes to your run-of-the-mill, like let's say ocean perch. A lot of places will sell ocean perch, and it's typically a lesser expensive fish. Well, you can get ocean perch that's coming out of Canada and that's been shipped over to China and that's gone through all kinds of different chemical dips and stuff like that, that's absorbed 25% water. Or you can buy stuff that's not chemically treated and as a
so technically
product.
Organic, essentially. I know that's not a term you use but is that
Correct?
Essentially the case?
Yeah, we can't use the organic term with fish.
Right.
I don't remember. It used to be that you could, but
I don't think you can use it anymore.
That got changed.
But understanding what that means, yes, right. So if you're health conscious and quality conscious, that's the way to go. Now,
without a doubt.
Let me ask you this: so you love seafood. You just explained quality, and you just explained the reasoning behind certain prices. So how have you? It has to be tempting, right? As a business owner, you understand that. You hope your customers understand that. But no one likes to jack up their prices just because they have to. So how have you, as a business owner, made that tough decision? I mean, you could easily get low quality stuff. How have you managed, knowing about the economic conditions, but at any point in your 11 years, how do you balance between that feeling you get when you're like, gosh, I really hate to charge this because it could price me right out, but knowing that that is your brand and the people that are loyal and the people that have come to expect that type of quality, and you hope most of your customers understand what you just explained. And if they don't, we have some work to do, right? We got to make sure they do. But how have you balanced between sticking to your brand promise, sticking to the way you've always done it with, oh my gosh, I think maybe in order to draw people in or in order to sell this stuff, I got to bring in low quality stuff so I can sell it at a lower price. How have you managed to stay loyal to that position?
That's a phenomenal question, especially over these last year or two with the way that inflation is just, it's blown our prices up. We, like you said, we just haven't wavered. It's one of those things where we're not apologetic about the product that we sell. Absolutely, I wish that I didn't have to do price increases. I know we've had customers, numerous customers that say, I love you guys so much, but I can't eat here as much anymore. I can't buy as much fish as what I used to because of pricing. And it's just been something that it's been very difficult for us because we don't want to lose customers and we want people to get what they want. They're not coming to us because they don't appreciate what we're doing. They're just simply coming because it's not affordable to them right now. And we have gone out, we've attempted to try and find different new things to add on to our menus or different new things to put into our cases that are still a great product, but very, a lot more value conscious. One of the things in particular we just started was a fish and chips special. We've been able to get haddock fillets, very nice haddock fillets. They're smaller cuts. There may be pieces that have been trimmed off or something from bigger portion cuts and stuff. We're able to find those things at great prices and still be able to put a great value out there to our customers. We've done that with grouper also. These aren't great big grouper fillets that we're frying up. They're smaller cuts, but it's still great grouper, and it allows us to be able to put a great value out there to our customers. But it has been very difficult, and we've definitely lost some of our sales because of it. But it's one of those things that we would lose everything if people didn't know that they were always coming to us for quality.
I commend you for that. I mean, I asked that question because I think that would be one of the hardest decisions to make as an owner, staying true to your brand promise. This is who we are. This is what people have come to expect. And it's just that natural tendency to say, I know we've never done it this way, but we, quote unquote, have to do that at this point. And I applaud you and commend you for that, because that has to be one of the toughest decisions you've made. And I'm sure you think about it often. Not because you're not, when I say that, I don't mean it because you're stressed about it or you're contemplating it. I just know that being a business owner, you want your customers to be happy. You want them to have quality product. It's not always within your control. So I'm sure it's hard for you to see price increases just because you're a consumer too. And you want, I'm sure that's just stressful for you. I'm sure it's something you think about often. So good for you for staying true to your conviction, staying true to your, I mean, it's a classic example about staying true to your brand, because once you compromise that, you can never go back.
Yeah.
You can't.
It's one of those things, I said, especially the last couple of years have been so hard. But I think about, we've got 47 employees, 47 families that, when I'm sitting there thinking, all of these other fish places, they're bringing in all of this product that's been soaked in chemicals and stuff. And I'm not putting everybody in the same batch, but most of them are doing those things.
You're not naming names,
right? And they're paying 25, 30+% less than what I'm paying. And I'm thinking about that, you're trying to weigh all these different things, and you're thinking about these 47 families that you're responsible for. And it'd be really easy to make those decisions so you can increase your profit, because we've so far this year, even with things improving, we've had 3 out of the last 4 months of profitability. Before that, it was loss.
23 was tough. I remember
It
you
was
and I
terrible.
talking
I mean,
about that last year. Yeah.
I thought last year about this time that we were possibly going to be closing our doors for good.
Wow.
So it was, I'm glad that I stuck to my guns so we wouldn't, you don't let people down on ruining your brand by just bringing in what everybody else does.
You just touched on the heart and soul, and I'm not saying you have to be a family business to own this value or own this principle or this position. I'm not sure what the right word is, but I think a lot of people say it's a value. But you just hit on the core of family business. In what I've read, what I've observed from our own company, from other clients that we have that are family business, the one thing that seems to stand true for all of them, it's universal, is that every decision they make, they keep in mind how it's going to affect their team, their employees. I think there's a natural, I don't know if a person who holds that naturally becomes a family business owner, or a family business owners just naturally become like that. I'm not sure which one it is, but it just seems like across the board, family businesses just get it. They understand that their team members aren't just numbers. Yeah. If you have to let someone go, it's a tough decision. If a lot of family businesses, if they're letting someone go, it's either maybe because of poor performance or because they have absolutely no choice. They've tried everything they can. People in family businesses do not take letting people go or laying people off or whatever it might be very lightly. It is something that keeps you up at night. I mean,
without a doubt. Yeah. Been there, done that.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's not any situation like that I haven't lost sleep about, or you do everything and anything that you can to make things work.
Yeah, and you'll even make, a plug for family business owners. And family business owners will sometimes, they'll make sacrifices for themselves to make sure that that's not compromised in terms of employee. I know we did that through when we had the pandemic. We didn't let anyone go. And our banker, our CPA was like, man, you got to let half your staff go. Like, right. It was crazy when the pandemic happened. Think about the decisions we made so quickly.
Yeah.
And within a week, do this, do that. And Tammy and I got together and we said, look, and this goes back to how you approach your product. We said when we first started in 2008, so we started in 2008, this is 2020, and we made a commitment, two things we committed to. We would never let our personal matters interfere with business, right? And then the other one was we will do whatever it takes to protect our team. And we will make sacrifices ourselves to make sure that happens. So when the pandemic came, now granted, we got a loan, helped. The loan helped.
Yes.
Okay. And
we wouldn't be here without that, too.
Right. So in all fairness, that helped. My point, though, is in that initial phase of panic, not to say we panicked, but obviously there was some anxiety and stress at that time. We made the decision, this is who we are. This is what we believe. This is what we're committed to. This cannot be compromised. This is non-negotiable. And so we said, okay, we know financially we are risking much. But we held our ground, we got through it, and we didn't have to let anybody go. So I'm proud of that. And I'm sure that was your position as well.
We didn't let a single person go.
It's incredible.
Kept everybody on,
which is incredible on the restaurant and retail side. That's incredible. Yeah. Good for you.
Yep.
Wow. You could have said you had to let a few people go. That would have been still commendable because that was just bam, hit right between the gut. So
very different time for sure.
Good. And I think it's important for people to hear that because I think your story really is everybody's story. And I think that's really awesome. For you and the audience out there, please bear with me. We have had lots of conversation and I have not even, we've only done 3 of my questions.
Oh my goodness.
I know. And I know there were a couple that I want to hit on. So if you'll bear with me, let me look at my future questions. Because so far you and I have been this has been naturally flowing.
Yes.
This has just been going. So let me make sure here. Let's see. All right. Okay. I want to ask you this one. What are some key lessons? And I know we've already talked on some of them. This is an opportunity for you to share maybe some additional ones. What are some key lessons or insights that you've learned from operating a family business in the seafood industry?
Probably some of the things. I'm the king of learning things the hard way. And
welcome to ownership of a business.
No doubt about it.
It can't be easy. That wouldn't be fair.
Contracts. I think contracts are something that I've gotten into some bad contracts before, and other companies, they're the big guys. They have the strength and the money to back up those contracts, even when they're not fulfilling their end of the deal. And so that's something that
the vendors, right?
Oh goodness,
that's important to a business.
Yeah,
who you do business with matters a lot.
Yes, and it's the stuff that you don't necessarily think about, like my seafood vendors and stuff. I talk to them all the time. I'm friends, and I've known some of them for decades. So it's not necessarily within the seafood end of things, but all that peripheral stuff where there's a lot of companies out there that do the same kind of thing, like laundry companies, different things like that. I'm so close to naming names on them, but I won't.
Again, naming names. You don't talk. That's a Seinfeld reference. He named names.
Yeah. I'd love to, but I'm not going to.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
appreciate that.
It's one of those things that really got to look at the details of things. One of the other big things that I've learned the hard way is making sure that your infrastructure is right. We've been doing it going on 11 years, but there were things that we weren't doing at the beginning that have just sort of created some train wrecks, 10 years, 8, 9, 10 years into it that we're trying to fix. And it's stuff that you don't think about. You don't think about when you open December 26, 2013 with your one store. Well, what are you going to need if you're at 4 or 5 stores? That's just not something that's going through your mind.
How do you make that scalable? How do you duplicate?
Yes.
You can't, you're dealing with humans, right? So
Absolutely.
You can't just, we talk about processes and procedures and systems and being scalable, but it's not always easy to say, okay, so we have all this in place on paper. It's just naturally going to happen. So we're just going to add a whole bunch of other individuals, and they're just going to naturally do exactly what these people over here are doing.
Yep.
That's probably the hardest challenge of growth and expansion.
It is. You take for granted a lot of things. And it's not been quite a year, but again, 10 years into this, I hired a business coach. Tim Campsall with Action Coach has been amazing for me. He's helping me to get a lot of, just a lot of knowledge coming into things that I should have known. I should have known them at the beginning. And
I didn't realize you were such a mess, Andrew. I didn't realize.
I didn't either.
I thought you had all the answers right from day one. That's the way it's supposed to be done, right?
Right, no doubt.
You're doing something right, though. You figure you spend a lot of your time dealing with talking with, building relationships with your vendors, finding new opportunities. You're buying. You're probably behind a lot of the buying and things. Fortunately for you, you mentioned it took you 10 years, but I think for the most part, you figured it out because all your stores now seem to be functioning pretty well. Like, I don't think it requires, I know you talk about you're not in the store very often. That's probably a good thing, because if an owner's in the store a lot, maybe it's because they love being there. Maybe it's because they want to be among the people. There's nothing wrong with you going in from time to time and being present and visible. You need to do that. But if you're spending more of your time in the stores than you are not, that means you probably have a problem.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And that brings into the fact that we have an amazing staff. I got guys that have been with us since the beginning. We've got some that are working on ownership of stores, and
really?
One that's got a couple that we've got license agreements with.
Wow, that's pretty neat. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yep. It's a blessing. We still have our original core of people, myself, and again, my dad's getting back into things, and
his health is improving.
Yeah, yep. He just had a knee replacement, and
what does doctor say? Eat more fish, and you'll be better. Is that what it is?
They all say that, thankfully.
An apple and fish, right?
No doubt about it. But Charles and Tony and Vicente, Juan, I could go down the list. Phil, we've got guys that have been with us forever, and it's not because we're the best paying or anything like that. We're a small business. We're not able to put out all of the benefits and stuff that a lot of the other players and stuff out there can, but they know that we care about them. They know that we love them, and we're going to do anything that we can to help along the way. And that has made that's the only reason that we're in business, is because of the people that are with us, the people that are doing that day-to-day hard work and managing. They're managing it right because they care about the business, not just the paycheck.
That's the thing that's really cool. You see a lot in family businesses where you have some employees there as long as the ownership has been there. It's amazing. You talk about multi-generational ownership. You sometimes have multi-generational, or maybe there are businesses where two family members from different generations work there, or someone has been there through 2 generations or more of ownership. A lot of family businesses have that. So that's pretty cool. And I tell you, I think
our Heartland store.
Oh, okay.
With Juan and Vicente and Vicente's wife Maria. We have family within family that's at all of the stores.
I think the benefit from having that attitude of like taking care of your employees is it's so critical in business. And I think, again, I'm not saying other businesses don't have this. I just think it's naturally in the infrastructure of a family business that, yes, I own this business, but I can't do it without you, the team member.
No doubt.
And the team member appreciates the culture and the environment and the, what's the word I'm looking for? The climate. Culture and climate are a little bit different. But I think team members also realize I'm so grateful that I have this job because I love working here. The marriage is, if you're going to do it right as a business owner, you don't have room. I mentioned about your humble beginnings, but you have to be humble as a business owner, because once you have an ego, once you think it's all about you, your employees, your team members in a family business especially, are going to pick up on that. And it's not going to be good. So I think you have to embrace that we're in this together. This is my role. Yes, I carry a lot of the risk because I am the owner. But in the day-to-day, to live out our brand, to live out, this is a team effort, and we do this together, and we're equally important. Yeah. And I think that's special.
It is, no doubt. I remember something that impacted me once. I was down at our South Side store, and I was talking with one of the guys in the kitchen, and I just couldn't believe that, I was standing there talking to them. I knew their name, all these different things, and they worked at another local business with multiple locations, and they're like, that would never have happened with in the other business that they. And
they notice it. They notice that stuff.
Yeah,
they see it. They're not looking for it, but it's just.
I thought that's like
boom.
The baseline. That's
I know.
Everybody's.
I know.
We're all humans.
And I think that's why sometimes people do work in family businesses. You mentioned that you don't maybe pay the best. But man, oh man, as time goes on, it seems like every year when they survey employees, national, right? It's just a survey about employee satisfaction or employee growth. There are all these surveys that go out trying to get the pulse of the workforce and what matters to people and what's important to them. And one thing that I'm not saying this to be exact, but I believe the thing that, at least what catches my attention year after year since the pandemic started, and maybe it started before that, I don't know, but since the pandemic, the one thing that has not changed is that people will forego a little bit of pay to work in a culture or climate such as whatever it is that we provide, that family businesses provide. Yeah. So I think it's across the board. Not to say that some family businesses don't pay well. I'm not inferring that. I'm not inferring that. But I think down deep as a family business owner, when you do care about your team, you want to give them more. But sometimes you have to make tough decisions. You can't. Like I know we would like to pay our employees more than we pay them, and believe it or not, it's just being truthful. My business partner, Tam, and I are always like, dang it, come on, Lord, bless us with more in revenue so we can do this for our employees and do that. It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating sometimes because it's not about putting more money in our pockets. It's not about money. It's about what you can do with that money. We could
Exactly.
we could do more. We could do more websites for nonprofits if we had more money, in the coffers, right? We could give more raises. We could do this. I mean, the list goes on, but there's so much you can do. So, and I know God knows I'm being genuine. We want more revenue, yes, so we can stay in business. Yes, so we can be stable. Yes, so we can have personal and professional satisfaction about achieving something. But in the end, it's like, I want to be able to do more than I can right now for my team and for my community. And it's just, and there are limitations sometimes. You're handcuffed. But that is really, that is, if you're doing it right, that's really the driving force, at least for me.
That is my exact sentiments on things. Those are the things that go through my head all the time when we try and help on the little things. I've got a guy that he's been having car problems and stuff. Hey, what's it going to take to get that fixed?
One of your team members?
Yeah.
After you fix your truck first, right? You got to
right. Yeah.
again.
Right. And I do. I just we try and help where we can, but man, I wish I could do more.
Yeah, we always do. Okay. Well, this is the first podcast interview I've ever done where I never got through my questions. So, which means we're probably doing something right?
Long story long.
Oh,
right?
man, I love it. I love it. But let's go. Anyway, I love this. This has been, in the very beginning, I told people this is going to be a good one. And this has been just fantastic. This has been a real pleasure for me. Thank you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do my dad joke segment. I warned you about that in the beginning. And then we're going to wrap up with a really easy question to answer. And then we'll give people some insight on how they can learn more about you and Caplingers. Okay.
Great.
Okay. So you may know the answer. If you do, the way this works is we launch this podcast, we put it on our Facebook page, and then we share the answer to the dad joke that is associated with that podcast episode. So I challenge our audience. Don't cheat, don't look, just for fun, see if you can figure out. And the reason we do this, Andrew, is because dad jokes have been a part of our culture since about this time in 2021. Or 20, maybe it's 20, but all I know is for at least 3 or 4 years, every weekly team huddle, I call it a team huddle, we get together on video on one of our remote days, and I do a dad joke. Sometimes I get thumbs up, sometimes I get thumbs down, and I always say, no matter what, I still win. The jeers are just as good as the cheers.
No doubt.
Oh man, I love it. In fact, sometimes when they hate it, I go, even better, even better. So, all right. So I'm gonna ask this dad joke. If you know the answer, don't chime in. Okay.
Got it.
So, what is the loudest pet you can get? What is the loudest pet you can get? So when this podcast launches, go to our Facebook page and get the answer to our dad joke for this episode. What is the loudest pet you can get? Good luck and thanks for participating. Okay, so before we share some closing, some information about Caplingers, I'm going to ask you one final question. Looking ahead, what are your goals and aspiration? I think this is an easy one. Maybe I might be asking the most difficult question. I'm not sure. It could be the easiest or the most difficult.
Go on another hour.
Yeah, looking ahead, and you can summarize this obviously. But looking ahead, what are your goals and aspirations for the future of Caplingers Fresh Cuts? What does the future look like? You mentioned about maybe license. You said licensing and maybe expansion. I'm taking that out of context maybe, but what does the future look like in the next 10 or 11 years for Caplingers?
I think the future for us is just to really stabilize everything, get all of that infrastructure right, and if there are growth opportunities that come by, we'll look at those. But I think just being patient and being
not forcing it, just waiting.
Yes, that's going to be something that I'm going to be a lot more prudent about than what I have been. And when I say I'm talking about me,
your
and
team,
my dad.
Your leadership team.
So
yeah.
That's a really, really simplistic way of just answering that question, but we're just going to be really wise and purposeful of everything that we do. The products that we bring in, any kind of growth, like I said, we're just going to be very purposeful with it.
Goals, just to add to this, goals are something I struggle with all the time. You want goals to be tangible. Over the years, they've been more like areas of focus or priorities more than a goal. Goals are hard, and you have to be really careful. And I think I know. I'm I'm going to speak for you, and this is what I'm hearing from you. Goals are tricky because if you make a goal, something like, we're going to add 3 stores in the next 3 years, if that becomes your goal, then you're going to do whatever is necessary to meet that goal. And along the way, you might make mistakes, misjudgments, miscalculations, errors, and all kinds of things. So if your goal for growth is a tangible number of stores, you might not reach that goal the correct way. There's a risk in that. Whereas maybe if your goal is to continue, no matter what, to stay true to your brand, true to your core promise, true to your culture, true to your climate, true to the way you do business with your vendors and your customers, staying true to what Caplinger's started and has always been for 11 years. And I'm going to keep my eyes open for opportunities. I'm always going to be looking. I'm always going to be learning. And if God blesses me with another store, and I could do that in the correct way where I feel it's within that nice balance between the risk is not too low, not too high. If that ends up falling in your lap, then you'll pursue it. But you're not going to pursue the goal of growth just for the sake of growth. Am I hearing you correctly?
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay. I think that's the best way to do it. That's what I'm hearing from you.
Yep.
So, okay.
Perfect.
I think that's the right way to do it. I really do. I've seen a lot of businesses grow too fast, and you've seen them yourself. You've seen
Done it.
Okay, done it. There you go. But there are businesses that have just grown. They were so focused on growth, number of stores, but they lost their way going down that path. And it doesn't happen to everybody, but it's a slippery slope, at least from what I believe. Okay, so thank you. That was awesome. So I'm going to read this because I want to make sure I get this right. So there are lots of different ways to learn about Caplinger's Fresh Catch. You can go to Facebook and enter Caplinger's Fresh Catch. You can go to YouTube. There are a lot of fun videos on there, a lot of those interviews, some of those TV segments you've done. I didn't get into that, but that's okay. You can enter Caplinger's Fresh Catch again, or I actually just simply put in Caplinger's, and I got a whole bunch of stuff on there. Yeah. So it looks like you own the Caplinger's name and brand, because there's no one else out there. When I put in Caplinger's, it's all your stuff. So if you want to put Fresh Catch, go ahead. If otherwise, Caplinger's, and that's CAPLINGER''S. And then, of course, when you do the website, Caplinger's Fresh Catch, drop the apostrophe. So you have caplingersfreshcatch.com, all kinds of good stuff there. So as far as the locations go, and I do want you to real quickly to speak to this, because from my perspective, when I look at the map of your locations, do you guys still have that food bus up in the north?
Yes.
Okay, so you have the 4 locations and the food bus.
Yep.
Okay. I want you to speak to that real quickly. Now, you can go to the website, just look up locations, and you'll see that there's a couple in the Northeast, there's one downtown, there's one south side, and then you have this food bus in the Northwest. My impression of when I look at your map, which I don't know if that was strategic or not, it doesn't matter whether you're where you work, where you live, or where you are out and about in Indianapolis. There's a Caplinger's Fresh Catch somewhere nearby. It's not that far.
Without a doubt. It was strategic, for sure.
Well, congratulations on that. Congratulations on that award you got when you were 16 and on that. Good job. Okay, so you have, just real quickly, I know they can go to your website, but just real fast, run me down where are the 5 located.
Gotcha. So our original store, 75th and Shadeland, 7460 North Shadeland Avenue. Okay. We have... that store has a fish market in it as well as a restaurant. Yes. And our other store that is a fish market and restaurant is at 7620 South Meridian Street.
Oh, okay.
So that's our south side location. We own that building. It's a great spot.
Any green neon lights on the ceiling, or you took those out? Okay.
No, we took care of that.
Okay, good.
It actually used to be a Pizza Hut. So
okay.
Yep. Okay. But then we've got our AMP location, which is downtown. It's 1220 Waterway Boulevard. Then
and that's just a market, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
No sit down. Okay.
Well, there is sit down. I'm sorry. That's just the restaurant, not the market.
Oh, I see.
It's you go in. The last 3 stores are just the restaurant.
I gotcha. Yep.
But it is more of a food court type area, so there's plenty of seating in there.
I gotcha.
Then we've got our Pendleton Pike location, which that used to be a construction trailer, so there's no dining in there. But it's you can drive up there and you can get out and order your food, go back to your car, and
That's awesome.
get a text or a buzzer and come back up and get good hot Caplinger's Fresh Catch.
Okay. And you have your food bus, right?
Yeah, it's a 7200 block of Michigan Road on the northwest side of town. And Eloy Montecatl is the one that actually is licensed for that one in the Pendleton Pike location.
Oh, really?
He's been with us for forever. And
okay.
Just a wonderful, wonderful guy. And he's doing a great job with both of those.
When is that food bus? I know the hours can vary. When is the food bus normally there at that location?
It's normally there.
Oh,
it's almost always there. He tries not to.
Okay.
It would have to be a pretty significant opportunity for him to move away for a day from there.
Okay. So he's open for business 6-7 days a week?
Yep.
Wow.
Well, 6.
6. Yeah, I was going to say 6. Wow.
We're closed on Sundays.
Closed on Sundays. Are all your locations closed on Sundays?
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure if that was all of them. Good for you.
Yep.
I always believe, I understand why things are open for business. I'm old school. It's not even about my faith. I mean, I think it would just be great if if every human being who works was guaranteed a day off. Like guaranteed. Like, I don't mean like we're going to give you Tuesday. I mean like the business was just closed on this day. No one works on this day. Wouldn't that be something? So I applaud you for congratulations on that one too. Man, look at all the. I tell you what, you're doing a lot right, Andrew. You give yourself some credit. So
thank you.
Okay. Well, listen. Thank you for being here. I knew this was going to be fun. I knew this was going to be an education. I knew that you would be a great interview in terms of representing what family business is all about, representing what it means to do it right, looking after your employees, caring about your customers, making those tough decisions. You met and exceeded my expectations. So I want to thank you for taking time out of your day. Right now you could be talking to vendors or buying product or whatever. So thank you so much for being here today.
Been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure for me. I've enjoyed it so much. It's been wonderful. And for those of you out there, like I said, go to Caplinger's, go to their website, look them up on YouTube and Facebook. And if you want to see more or hear more like this one today, check out our previous podcast. And then, of course, soon after this one launches, we'll be having some more coming your way. So whether you're a viewer or a listener, thank you for being with us here today. Spread the word and share this particular episode with as many people as you can. There's a lot of entertainment and a lot to learn. So thank you so much and have a great day.